Hey, welcome to Widow Too Soon. This is Mark Massaro. I am here with my friend and co-host Michelle Bader. Michelle, what's up?
I am doing okay. How
Yeah,
are
what's been
you?
going? I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. What's been going on with you?
Well,
Tell us about the drama.
let me tell you. Remember last week I shared in our anxiety episode about COVID hitting our house.
Right. And so we know that's still
So
got to be going on.
it is, yeah, but good news. Peyton gets to go back to school tomorrow.
Oh,
So we're
good.
happy about that and just
Is
trying
he
to
happy about that?
kind of he's kind of
Okay.
I mean he is because we not only did we quarantine, we isolated, so he hasn't left
Mm,
his room. Tonight at midnight officially he's supposed to be not contagious so he can leave the room. But like
nice.
literally he only goes to the bathroom and then I bring him all his food and like everything. So it's been like all consuming to be getting
Mm,
food and like doing all this stuff and then fighting the anxiety. I've had to listen to our podcast to help. Literally I
nice.
did.
I've done that too in the
Yeah,
past.
and so it helped with that. And yeah, so I don't have a lot to share because that's pretty all consuming when you're dealing with that, and I haven't left the house except for
Yeah.
COVID tests, and that's about it. So
Yeah, it's a little hard to share when you've been
I don't,
quarantined.
I've been working on
Tell us about the TV shows you've been watching.
yeah, nope, don't really have any.
No? Okay.
Well, I watched some Hallmark movies. I got the Hallmark channel for $4.99 a month or $5.99.
You got sold on that? I saw that on Facebook.
I do it every year. Yeah, it's
Oh,
so
do you?
good.
Okay. Oh,
It's
I
my
didn't know that was like a
favorite.
thing.
Oh, it's so awesome. I did it last year and I'm doing it this year, so that was good.
That's
I've been
awesome.
trying to I still have boxes in my closet. I'm aiming to get to them. I haven't yet. But I've spent a lot of time working on my speaker profile. I'm trying to get that all up and going so I can start speaking. And I've done some stuff with the podcast, with YouTube, a few things here or there. But when I look back at my day, I'm like, what did I do? I mean, it's mostly taking care of kids and getting them what they need and all that stuff. So for someone not on COVID restrictions, what have you been up to?
Well, you know, I'm I
Something?
feel bad because I haven't been on COVID restriction and I haven't had a whole lot going on that I can think of to share. I mean, I got a new car, which is awesome.
That is awesome.
But yeah, it's been I'm just homeschooling the kids and
Mm-hmm.
just getting stuff done around the house. Nothing too exciting unless you want to hear about scrubbing counters or doing laundry.
I don't think
It's
that's
really
really what
exciting. So,
what our listeners are.
let me tell you about this load of laundry I did. It was great.
It
I
was
washed
great.
it, then I dried it, then I put it away. No, just kidding.
That is fascinating. Our listeners
Yeah,
love it. Love
no,
it.
just doing life. No big things to talk about that I can think of. Been going to church and stuff like that, which is always great. I get to go on
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday nights now.
Yay.
Um, because I'm not working right now. And so that's been actually really nice to be able to go on Wednesday nights. But for some reason, I'm still used to my sleep schedule.
Oh,
So I feel so bad, but like every Wednesday night at church, I'm like struggling to stay awake. And it's not that
yeah.
my pastor is amazing, he
Right.
gives really good messages, but I don't know what it is. I just get so sleepy and I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anyways, so that's been going on, which is
Well, and I
cool.
did
But
want to correct you on one thing. You said you're not working. You're a single dad. You're working
yes,
hard every day
indeed.
and you're homeschooling. So,
Yes.
you
Thank
know.
you. I am definitely working. I'm not the type to just sit around.
No.
Well, don't get me wrong. I like sitting around. I like relaxing. However, I just feel like I know I'm going to feel so much better about myself at night and be able to relax if I got a
Yeah.
lot of stuff done.
Me too. Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I can't just sit around all day and not feel guilty about it. So,
Mm-hmm.
been trying to get out and walk the dogs more now, which is
Nice.
cool because like I've mentioned in other podcasts where we live, it's really hot in the summers
Yeah.
and you can't take the dogs out for walks. It's pretty sad.
That
Poor
is
dogs.
sad.
They're like, why did you guys move here? But literally the pavement's like too hot. And then because I was working, I wasn't able to take them out even at night. Because
Yeah.
it doesn't even cool off. I mean, it cools off enough, but it doesn't even cool off enough until around 9 p.m. I mean, I've
Wow.
had times where I've left for work at 3:30 in the morning and it's 95 degrees out or whatever. It's
Mm.
hard to
Mm-mm.
imagine, but I'm like super early in the morning and I got the AC going in the car. So yeah, so anyways, it's cooled off a lot. It's really nice now. It's just beautiful weather every day. And so I've been taking the dogs out and stuff. But anyways, so that's the super exciting stuff going on in my world, walking dogs and doing laundry and
Yeah.
homeschooling kids. I'm
Yeah.
finally starting to get the hang of homeschooling the kids, which is nice. There's a lot to it.
Yeah. It's good.
But so today's episode, we are talking about something where we are going to be pretty vulnerable in talking about, because we have a lot of people that listen, and so we just want to be delicate with it. But it is a topic about dating.
And what's that title?
That title is that dating is not a 4-letter word. It's not a bad word, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit about that title?
Okay, well, it came from my book, Widow Goals, which I'm working on. Of course, I'll tell you all about it when it's ready. And so I actually wrote it about a year ago. But since then, I have learned a lot. But basically, what I want people to get from this episode is that if you decide to start dating, and everybody's timeline is different when that is, there's no right or wrong time. I want you to not feel guilty. I don't want you to think it takes away from the love that you had for your spouse, because that love will always remain there. And it doesn't mean you love any less. I actually just explained this on a TikTok like a couple of days ago. I think we talked about it in the last episode too. But basically, when you decide to love again, okay, so you've got your love for your spouse, that's not going to change. And then you love someone else. It's like when you have one kid, you think you can't love them anymore, right? They're like, oh, that's so, we've talked about this before. And then you have another kid and your heart expands. And I feel like that's what it will be. For me, it's a will be, because I'm not there yet. Will be when I fall in love again. Like, I will always love Luke for sure. And you will always love Lacey. But there is room in our hearts. God can help our hearts expand. And so I feel like this is one of the most privately talked about subjects among widows and widowers, but the least publicly talked about it. And it's taken us a while to get to a place where we're comfortable publicly talking about it. But I think it's time. I think it's time to shed some light on this. This is not a shameful thing. This is not a bad thing. God created us for companionship and to desire that. And so there's nothing wrong with you. I don't care if it's been a month, 6 months, a year, 10 years, 15 years. It's okay. It's okay to want to date again. And so today we're just going to be just kind of going through like what experiences we've had and just talking about it. So Mark, would you like to start?
Spotlight's on me. So it's been an interesting road. I am currently dating someone and she's amazing, and I will get into that. But it's hard because there's so many triggers that make it difficult. For one, I battled guilt for a long time.
Yeah.
I just couldn't feel like I was doing the right thing. It just felt wrong. I just missed Lacey. I wanted Lacey. And I just couldn't let go of that. And I still haven't completely let go of that. But there was a time when I thought I was ready after, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months. I don't know how long it was, but because I was lonely, and it's hard to explain to somebody. And a lot of people might think that was too soon. And, a lot of people that didn't know me would have questioned my love for Lacey if I was ready to date someone so quickly. But a couple of things on that. I lost Lacey as a wife long before she passed away.
Yep.
And that's a hard thing to say, because that hurt her to admit that, or to realize that. It was kind of her that brought it to my attention. And I never accepted that. She was always my bride,
Right.
And so that was, but that's the truth. And I didn't really understand that until she passed, that like, yeah, we didn't have any kind of relationship for a long time other than me taking care of her. I mean, we did, we still shared a lot and laughed a lot, but anyways, back to what I was saying. So after about 5 or 6 months, I thought I was ready, and I joined Christian Mingle.
Mingle. Isn't there like some kind of jingle that goes to Christian Mingle?
Mingle bells, mingle. I don't know.
Mark,
anyways,
Mingle.
Oh gosh. That's a good song. I was on there, and it was really interesting. I kind of got scared off of it, because as I was scrolling through all these pictures, I noticed that I was looking for Lacey. And that's it was a really weird thing to admit to myself. But once I realized that, I mean, I don't even know that was, almost a year ago now. So I don't even really know how to express what that felt like. But I just remember that I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm on here looking for Lacey. This is weird. And so I backed off of it. And then I don't know, maybe a month later, again, I was really lonely and I missed having a wife. And because that's part of it, right? Is that you not only miss your spouse, but you miss being married. You miss having a spouse. And again, I thought I was ready for it. And I got on there and I just felt convicted by God that not that it was wrong, but that wasn't his plan of how I was going to meet somebody. And I felt a very strong conviction to stop looking and that he's going to bring her to me. And so fast forward to today, this girl that I'm dating now is also widowed, crazy enough.
Yeah.
And she approached me and she pursued me, and I was reluctant for a while and I wasn't sure what I wanted, and broke it off a couple times because it was too difficult for me. It was difficult at different times for many different reasons. Sometimes it was hard seeing her with my kids. It felt wrong. It felt like this is Lacey's role. And that was one of the reasons, but there were many others along the way, but I wanted to give you a chance to share some of your encounters, if you will, if you've had any. I'm sure you've had some.
Oh, yeah. So I shared a little bit in Counterfeit Comfort, that I literally like woke up one day, like 4 or 5 months after Luke passed away. I was like, I could tuck him in. And that's kind of how it started for me. I was still in a place where like the first, conversation I had with someone, it was just a text conversation. I felt guilty. Like I remember that very strongly. This isn't my husband, and it was just chatting. It wasn't even like he wanted to call me. I wouldn't let him. Like I was just texting. I'm like, nope, I will only text with you. And just that feeling, so some of you might be in that right now, that feeling of guilt. And just like you, I had what's called anticipatory grief. So I knew Luke was dying. And so you do a lot of pre-grieving. I know some of you on here who your spouse has passed away from cancer or something that's a long disease, you probably went through the same thing. And so sometimes those who have anticipatory grief actually, are ready sooner than others because they've been grieving it. A sudden death, I think would be a little bit harder. I mean, I don't know. I'm not judging anybody. You do what's right for you. Like nobody can tell you. No one can tell you it's the right or wrong time. It's what my counselor says. It's like super personal. Your grief is personal to you. And so it was around that time period where I just started kind of like chatting and making friends. That was my first step. Is like, I haven't even really had guy friends in 17 years, and that was a new experience. I mean, you were one of my first close friends, and, just getting to like have that camaraderie with someone who have so much in common, and just like, oh, like it's fun to talk to a man and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, we're both single, just having that experience of just getting to like see what that's like again, just kind of like dipping your toes back in the water, and just experiencing that it's okay to feel again and to have those emotions, because it started with just like talking to people and then like feelings being awakened, and just being at a place to know that's okay. Even that's okay. Like each step of the way, you're taking a little bit more of a step, a little bit more of a step. And, I learned through the process of like your friendship and just kind of what we went through, that it's okay to feel again, and it's okay. And that it doesn't mean, that's kind of when I realized it, that it doesn't mean that I loved Luke any less. Like I still had that same love for him. And in the process of getting to know you and like, starting to have feelings, but we lived in different places, that didn't work out, but we became like super good friends. And through that process, it was a huge part of my healing journey, to know it's okay. It's okay to, there's nothing wrong with it. Like the first time I mentioned to my son that I was actually when I was talking to you, he kind of like he got really angry and he was like, you can't talk to guys like you wouldn't do that when you're married. I'm like, well, I'm not married now,
Mhm.
and he went through like a really hard time. That's for me, and we talked about this a little bit in grief with kids or whatever the episode was. It's really hard, especially for older kids. I know it's different with younger kids. Like that was part of the hardest part for me is like he's like, it's wrong, daddy wouldn't do that. I'm like, well, I would hope he would. I would want him to be happy. And I also had to realize, like, I went through a lot of guilt in the beginning that Luke in his perfect state in heaven, like, would not be jealous of me talking to a man. Like,
Right. Yeah.
but if he was here on earth, obviously that would be a different story. And so it was just this shifting of the mindset. And like, so you were part of this journey to where I'm like, okay, it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to go forward in life. And then from there, I just kind of like started dating a little bit like through mutual friends and had some really interesting experiences, which I'm sure any of you who have done any kind of online dating or dating through friends have had, where you're like, where am I? Who is this person? And I can laugh about them now and to spare people's, details. I won't share all of it, but there were some interesting characters out there.
Mm.
And it was part of my journey. Like, I don't regret it. I got to know lots of different people. And I think the key was like, I was looking for someone who would be okay that I'm a widow. Like, none of them were widows. And so some were weird about it. Some, like, it was definitely a strange thing that some of them were very sensitive, some were not. And just also in this journey, learning who I am as a single person, like, okay, I'm not married. I'm transitioning into single. And for the first, 4 months, I didn't want to date. I thought I would never date again. I remember that feeling. And there's people that are 5 years down the road and they don't want to date, and that's okay. So I want you to know you are okay. Like, if you
Yeah.
don't want to date again, and you may never want to. There are widows who stay, they love their singleness. They don't ever want to get married again. I do, and that's been hard even recently, talking to my son about marriage. And like, he's like, why would you want to get married? You had a great marriage. You had daddy. Why would you ever want to get married again? And I'm like, because God created us for this companionship. And I'm like, you guys are all going to be grown up in 4.5 years. Like, I don't want to be the cat lady alone. I don't even have cats. I have a dog, but
But you could get them.
I could get cats. And like, I'm just in my house with my 18 cats. Like, oh my gosh, what's that show? Hoarders. Have you ever seen? Yeah. And then they have the cat ladies and they have the cat poop and all the stuff. And I don't want to be that. So that's my fear.
I don't necessarily think that you can equate not dating with being on Hoarders.
I'm sorry.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I totally get what you're saying. That show is fascinating, by the way.
Yes, but I wouldn't want to be that. And so I went through some of these experiences and got to know a lot of people, which was very interesting. And along the way, I'm like, I like this, I don't like this, and my kids like, no. And I remember when someone came to my house to pick me up for I guess the date, kind of just hanging out, and they thought it was weird. I came home and my oldest was like, that was so weird. Like, it was just, I think I talked about this in another episode. So for me, considering the kids' feelings along the way has been a huge thing, where I don't necessarily tell them every time that I'm like hanging out with someone and they've never met anyone except for the one guy, and they knew him from church from a long time ago. So they've only met one guy, which is good. I don't want to be bringing like a lot of people in and out of their lives.
They're all, which one is this?
Right? They might call them the wrong name. So anyways, it is funny. So now I'm in a place where I've developed a really strong friendship with actually someone that I went to college with, and total surprise, reconnected through social media. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. And gotta put in a little plug. And just what's so great is, in order to build a friendship or relationship, like, we have to talk. We're long distance. He lives far, far away.
Mhm.
And like really far. And you have to talk to build this relationship. And so what it's done for me is just built like a really strong, and he's a really strong Christian, like built this like strong base friendship before we even go to the next level. So right now we're just like really good friends, just exploring that. But it's been really fun. And he is going to come to visit. And so that's why I've had to talk with the kids a little bit, and they're a little bit leery. My daughter's amazing. She always says, I just want you to be happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the boys are more like, I've had the same talk with them. Like, you guys know this doesn't mean I love daddy any less. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, is this weird for you? And both were like, yeah, this is really weird.
The thing is, though, is it wasn't our choice. That's what I
Exactly.
kind of learned to become okay with, because for a while for me, there were a lot of things that I was, even though my in-laws have been amazing, I didn't want them to feel disrespected in any way. And so that
Mhm.
was a big thing for me
Oh,
that was like hinging
yes.
on, whether I was ready or not. And not that I was waiting for their permission or anything like that, of course, because they're not like that. But I don't know. I just didn't want it to be uncomfortable, or for them to feel like I was just moving on from her and that they weren't going
Right.
to be part of my life anymore
Right.
or whatever. But so that was important to me. And so it was really uncomfortable for me, but I'm a pretty open person. But to tell my mother-in-law that I was dating somebody was important to me to say, because
Mhm.
I didn't want her to find out from somebody else.
Right.
I felt like that would have been disrespectful, but it was, even though she's been very, very good to me and very, she even told me recently that she wants us to be happy, that she wants the best for us, and
I love that.
and
Yeah.
that she said the same thing you said, that there's no time limit on this. There's
Yep.
no right time. And
Right.
something I've learned is that all the feelings that I've been going through, um, there's a lot of things, and I'm sure a lot of people relate to this, is that I'm gonna say was, because I kind of hit this breakthrough, but I was very afraid to love somebody again. I was very afraid to
Mm,
fall in love again.
right.
I was very afraid to lose somebody again. Lacey was half of my life almost.
Right.
And we were writing this beautiful book together, and it just stopped with no ending.
Yeah. Oh, that's hard. Yeah.
And it was
Mhm.
like everything we built, everything we had learned about each other, all the ins and outs and the idiosyncrasies, and just the way that we had just become one, was just over, and
Yeah.
so like abruptly in the scheme of things. And so it was hard to it's hard to let myself feel like it was okay. And I've started grief counseling, like I told you.
That's
And
so
I
awesome.
was
Yeah.
talking about this in my last session, if you will, that like it's scary for me. And he said that's perfectly normal. Just so anybody, if you're curious, that's totally normal to
Mhm.
feel like scared of loving again. And
Right.
but there's also, he said, usually where there's guilt, there's anger attached to it in some way, shape, or
Mhm.
form. And that for me, it might be in the guilt that I feel, it might be anger that, like, why can't I just let myself do this? Or
Mhm.
it might be
Mm.
anger that I lost her. But whenever there's guilt, he said there's usually like anger attached to it. That's pretty like common. It might be deep, but there's usually anger attached to the guilt. And that's just been like the hardest thing for me. And I had a really good conversation with my friend Jeremy that lives in Florida. He came out a couple weeks ago, and we were just talking about it. And he kind of just told me that, like, if you like her this much, and that, like, you should allow, you were a good husband,
Mhm.
you should allow yourself to have feelings for somebody again, that's not
That's good.
wrong. And
Right.
that you're keeping yourself down
Right.
by being afraid of caring about somebody again. And because we don't know our future. But like, you can't just be scared that she's going to get cancer, or that whatever, that she's going to break my heart, or whatever it might be.
Right.
Like, you
Exactly.
you can't live that way. And fear isn't from God, right?
Right.
We know that. So I kind of just had this like epiphany in talking to him, that I was like, yeah, like, there's
That's
nothing wrong.
good.
I was a great husband to her, and I
Yeah.
tried to be the best that I could be. I wasn't perfect, but nobody is. And But I honored my vows, and I don't care if she was permanently, disabled or whatever. Like I would have loved, of course, I would have loved her. And I told her that, I would have gotten her a wheelchair and would have gotten a van to drive her everywhere she wants to go, and would have put some 4-wheel drive tires on it so we could go hiking. And
yeah.
but she was what I wanted, and
Right.
I didn't care the condition that she was in. I just wanted to be her husband. And but we have to let that go. And that's like the hardest part is dating. You're basically, because we go through these phases of having to let things go,
right.
Getting rid of their stuff. Like you feel guilty about it, but like you have to let it go. You have to let it go. And when you're ready, not like you have to do it like I did, where I was just, I couldn't I knew I was going to have a hard time getting rid of stuff. So I wanted to get rid of it right off the bat. That's just how I am though. And, but I know people that have held on to their spouse's belongings for many years and don't want to get rid of it. And so that doesn't matter. But at the point that you decide to get rid of it, that's something you have to let go.
Yeah, exactly.
And so for me, it was like dating again, like that. It was another way that I had to let go of Lacey. And it even hurts to say that because I don't want to let go of her, but I have to, I have to, because that wasn't the plan for my life anymore from God, and as much as we wish we could change the outcome in these situations, we can't. And so I'm saying all this, and this isn't, the most comfortable thing to talk about because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But I know that the girl I'm dating is a really amazing woman, and she deserves me to be my best. And it's hard to do if I'm, still holding on to what I wish could have been. And so it's, while it's hard to do that, like I'm starting to learn how to do it. I'm learning to tell myself, like, it's okay to let yourself care about somebody again.
Right.
And that's been challenging, but she's been really good to me and really good to my kids and really understanding. And honestly, like all the things I prayed about, I prayed for somebody that was, going to be understanding with Lacey and, just the many things that I don't need to get into because it's personal, but a lot of the things, pretty much everything, I think, that I was praying about, she is. And
that's awesome.
So yeah, it's been like, wow, like, I don't know what I'm waiting for then. I don't know why I'm so scared sometimes, or whatever, but, and she encourages me to talk about Lacey. She loves hearing about her. She asked me questions about her. I'll see her looking at pictures of Lacey and smiling or whatever, and she doesn't even know that. But I've seen it.
She does now.
She does now.
She's listening.
But just things like that where I'm just like, I'm so grateful that somebody is wanting to love me again and wanting to love my kids. And it's funny because with my kids, it's the total opposite of what you're going through.
Yeah.
Like we were dating for like maybe a week or two, and my daughter was already asking me like if I can marry her. And and for her, don't get me wrong, Alexis still goes through a lot with her mommy. We just had a whole night the other night of her crying that she missed mommy.
Aww,
and I was up with her like most all of the night. And so it's still very much real, she still absolutely loves and misses her mommy with all of her heart. But these kids, they're just with daddy all the time, and they see other kids with mommy, and they want that in their lives. And so yeah, I had to tell my daughter, like, it doesn't work that way, sweetheart. It's like, and that's led into all kinds of conversations about like, oh my goodness, like, so wait, she's like, wait, I forgot what brought it up exactly. I think I talked about mommy and I deciding that we were going to give her a little brother, and she's like, wait. You guys decide when you're going to have a baby? And I'm like, oh boy,
here we go.
Here's the can opener. Here's the worm. Mark, go ahead, open it on up. I was like, yeah, it is. you know, and I don't shy away from stuff with her. And she's like, well, I don't get it. How
Oh
do
my
mommies
gosh.
get a baby in their belly? And I was like, well, most of this conversation will take place when you get a little bit older,
Yeah.
but it's a very intimate thing between a husband and wife when they love each other a lot, and they decide to have a baby.
There you go.
And
Perfect
she
for
was
her
like,
age. Yeah.
oh,
That's great. You
okay. And
did a
I'm
good
like,
job.
yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like wiping the sweat off my forehead. But anyway,
That's
so
perfect.
it's you know, it's sweet. I appreciate their love they have, and they just don't want me to be alone. But I really had to have a conversation with them that I'm like, you can't ask me every time I hang out with her when we're getting married, because it makes
Right.
me pretty
A
uncomfortable, and
little
it
awkward.
makes me miss your mommy a lot, and makes me
Mm,
sad, and like you just can't talk about it like that. If that day comes, it'll be in God's timing, and I
yeah.
will feel like it's right, and she will feel like it's right. But unfortunately, it's not up to you guys. And I'm sorry. And she's like, okay, well, if that day comes, can I plan your wedding? I'm
Oh my
like, oh my
goodness.
gosh,
She's
you're
so
the
cute.
sweetest,
She
but
is.
I'm like, again, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, sweetheart,
Mm-hmm.
if it comes, and but it's just, there's a lot to this. But I just want to encourage people that you're gonna feel a lot of fears when you're ready to start dating again. You're gonna feel a lot of fears, a lot of quite possibly anxieties, a lot of guilt. You're going to most likely feel guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just go with it, because what somebody told me that was very valuable advice to me was, whether you do it now or whether you do it in 10 years, you're going to go through this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's going to go away.
Right.
And that's very true, because it feels exactly the same now than it did at 6 months, of like me feeling guilty for even wanting
Mm-hmm.
to have another wife, because Lacey was my world. She was what I
Right.
wanted forever and ever. And I still go through cards and read letters and look at pictures and cry and,
Right.
adore her.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, but it's just something that when you feel ready, just be prepared that you're going to feel guilt, and that's okay. But it's also okay to let go of that guilt.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, that's my piece.
That's good. So, I'm going to ask you some questions because I'm not yet in a relationship. So I don't have the
Okay.
answers. Maybe we'll do a follow-up one once I've been in one.
Fire
So,
away.
so this is really twofold. What has been the best part about dating again? And then maybe the most challenging?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
The best part, feeling loved again.
Yeah.
I think getting all emotional just thinking about it, because it's I missed that a lot.
Yeah.
I missed that so much. Like I hated doing things alone. Everything I did was alone. Everything was on my shoulders. And so it feels good to
Right.
feel cared about again.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And to have help, like, you and I have talked about this, that well, you reminded me, what was my love language again? Acts of service.
Acts of
Right?
service. Yeah.
You had me do like a test. I don't remember
Yep.
what it was, but
Acts of
so
service.
acts of service. So having this really nice girl like wanting to serve me
I love
is,
that.
wanting to do whatever she can to help me out, like signing up to help me with things when I have stuff to do. Like it's
That's
great. And the hardest thing is, I mean, you can hear from the way I talk about her, she's really great.
Yeah.
But I'd say the hardest thing is that she's not Lacey, and that's
Right.
not in any comparison thing.
Right.
It's just that I don't have Lacey anymore. So that's probably the hardest thing. But to be honest with you, I'm learning to let that go. And so there once you get past that, there's not a lot of downsides to it. It's been great. Getting to go out on a date, or getting to watch a movie with somebody else and not just by myself.
Yes.
That's been great. Just getting to sit on the couch and have some snacks and eat a movie. Eat a movie.
Eat a movie. Okay.
That's a yummy DVD. No, but getting to watch a movie with somebody again.
Other
Getting
than
to laugh.
little kid movies.
Yes. 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 No Pixar. I'm like, no Pixar. We've actually been
And
going through The Chosen,
oh, that's cool.
which has been great. We're not very far in it, but
No more dragon movies. Isn't that what
no,
Alexis?
not
Is
for
she
me.
still?
No, she's into My Little
Is
Pony now.
oh, she switched.
Yeah, which
Okay.
I like much better. I mean,
Yes.
not for me to watch, but just the content of it.
Yeah.
The dragons were, she was always talking about dragons, and I'd always constantly remind her, I'm like, dragons aren't real, right?
Right.
Because she's like, did you know that dragons this?
Yeah. All
Like,
her
well,
facts.
imaginary dragons, yes, that's the fact, or whatever. But yeah, it's honestly, it's been more good than bad, and I
That's so
just feel
good.
bad because she has gone through a lot wanting to date me, because I've sent her for a roller coaster ride, that's for sure. Like, I'm like, I can't do this. Okay, I miss you. I can't do this. Okay, I miss you. And
Mhm.
she's been so great to just be like, I just want you to be happy. I just want you to
That's
be
awesome.
happy. And then I'm like, well, now I want to get back together, because that is like a really nice thing to say. I mean, not literally like that, but it's just so you will, I would say, like, it's not going to be like my experience for everybody. Some people won't be as indecisive as I am or was or
Mhm.
whatever, but just anticipate that it's just not going to be easy, I think, is the easiest thing to, or the most consistent thing that I can say is, like, anticipate that it's not going to be easy,
Yes.
and that you're with somebody who's prepared for that.
Mhm. You
And
know,
let them know, maybe read that excerpt from that Michelle read in the last episode,
yes, it's
which
in
was
the last one.
amazing. And
Mhm.
like that, like, read that to them first,
Right.
and let them know that, like, you're a vessel that's been through a lot, and you require a certain amount of understanding,
Mhm.
and you know she's been really great at that for me. She's been really, really understanding, and just supportive in everything that I say and go through. So if you could find somebody like that, I'm really happy for you. And I would just encourage you that when you're ready, like, just don't let any, I put it off for so long because I was just afraid of what people would think. And
Yeah.
just don't let that be a thing. Because it's your life. You're the one that went through what you went through. Nobody else went
Exactly.
through it.
Right.
They can't even pretend to understand. So
Right.
that's my very long answer to your short
No, those
question.
are great answers. I'm sure they'll help the listeners. So what I want to say about dating too, a couple of things have changed. So a lot of us, we were in our 20s last time we dated.
Yeah,
And so the biggest thing
before cell phones.
right? So there's that. There's like texting adds a whole different layer that wasn't
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And then everybody in their, so we're in our 40s, and I mean, I'm in my 20s again,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Whatever, in my 40s, and everybody has baggage. Every single person that I've gone on a date with or whatever, because we've had so much more life. Like,
Yeah.
we have our
We're
own
at the
baggage.
age of baggage.
We have baggage. And so just know that. And sometimes it's too much baggage, too much. And you're like, bye. Bye.
Can you give us any examples? I don't want to throw you on the spot. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. I just,
Okay. Yeah. I'd love for
and
you
if
to
he
share.
hears it, whatever. So this one guy, he just had a lot of baggage, like a lot of kids with a lot of different moms. And it just
Mm,
wasn't for me. Like a lot. And he wasn't truthful in the beginning about how many kids he had. And
mm,
then later told me. And then just a lot of things that were like red flag, red flag, red flag, and just too much. Like, I can handle some stuff, but you also know, like, I can know within a minute of meeting somebody if like there's no potential or there could be potential. I mean, I
mm-hmm.
not like I know for sure right away. And then the other thing, everyone says they're a Christian. Like, literally everyone, like, because I wouldn't even go on a
Mm,
date if unless it said Christian. Well, they like to say that, and very few. There was one guy, and he's super nice. We just didn't end up having. We went out a couple times. Super nice guy. It just wasn't there. But um, he was actually a Christian. But the rest of them, literally, like one guy, I know he's not listening to this. I could tell you that, so I'm not worried. It was actually like one of my very first dates. You know what? I'll just tell you all about it because it was pretty bad. So he, like, when I asked him, I'm like, so tell me, and I'm not judging, but I would like a little more depth. I was like, tell me about your relationship with God. He's like, I know he's real and I go to church sometimes. And like, literally, I was like, okay, well, Jesus is the most important thing to me. And he's like, And then it was just like, I was talking about Luke and he wasn't sensitive. And then it was like, everything was about him, like no questions about me. And I can't stand that. Happened on several dates. I'm like, really? Like, I can't stand that. Like, you need to be interested in who I am.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was just, that date was really, I can laugh about it now because he's like one of those narcissists. Like, I can talk about, I
could tell already.
Oh my gosh. I think I told you about that one. He's the guy that had the shirt that said I love hot moms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
That guy.
Yeah.
So one of
I
my
could have told you that right off the bat. Like, anybody who would wear that shirt and take a photo in that shirt. Never mind. I'm sorry. That sounds mean.
You know what? I know I saw you have a new girlfriend. I'm happy for you. So yay, if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not. But it was just such an awkward, like, and I also said I wasn't going to be physical, and that like weeds out people really quick. Mm-hmm. And then he asked me out again. Yeah. And I said, if you're good with being friends, because that's where I'm at. And he said, no, I have enough friends. I'm looking for a relationship. So anyone who's not willing to be my friend first, like, you don't really care about me. He just wanted relationship, like physical. I'm pretty sure.
I was going to say we could translate that into another language pretty easily.
Yes, exactly. So that was a bad date. So
wow. So well, let me ask you the same question, but in a different context. What are you most looking forward to in dating, and what are you most afraid of?
Oh, good. So this is good. We're gonna like hit all of the audience, like with these two different things. I'm most looking forward to having a companion again. Kind of what you're talking about is the best part. Like, I would love to like cuddle and watch a movie and like go out to dinner. And like, Luke wasn't able to do a lot of like adventuresome things because he had his leg amputated, all his things. So what's really important to me is someone who is fit, who likes to hike, run, like all this stuff, who wants to travel with me. Like, that's what I want. Like, I want to live this part of my life. I didn't get to, not Luke's fault, but we didn't get to go on dates a lot because of his pain. I mean, we did, but not as much as I'd like to. We didn't get to do a lot of stuff. And so I want someone that I can be completely active with, and we can play tennis and like everything that I want to do that I never got to do. And I believe that's going to happen because God promised me on that grief retreat, I will redeem and restore everything you lost. And so I know it's coming. So I'm super excited about that. And just like, feeling loved again and cherished and like all those things that you miss when you're single and just doing life with someone, having a partner again. Like,
especially it's interesting, and I'm not cutting you off. I'll let you answer the other part of the question, but it's especially interesting it's one thing to be single. Mm-hmm. It's a whole nother thing to be single after you've been married, after you've shared a life with somebody.
Yeah, it's totally different.
It's not the same, because you're not looking for somebody to date again. At least, I know with you and I, we've talked about it. We're on the same page. Like, I didn't care about dating. I could have dated enough people. I got offers.
Yes, so a player.
Definitely the furthest thing from that. I wasn't looking for that though. I didn't want that. I had no interest in that. What I want is to be married again,
right,
and
me too.
Like, when you cherish a marriage, that's what you are looking for. Right. So it's interesting because when you're in your 20s, you're just looking to date and see where it goes,
exactly.
But at this stage in life, you're like, I don't have enough life left to play around,
and you have kids to consider and all that.
Right. Mm-hmm. And especially when you've been through what we've been through and you see how fragile life is. Yeah. That, anything can happen at any time, and so it's like, I don't know, I'm not a fling kind of person, Mm-mm. So anyways, and I'm sorry. So continue, please. Because that's the
thing that I'm excited about. Most fearful of getting really into, let's just take this scenario. For example, the friend that I'm talking to, let's say we take it to the next level, decide to date, and it's long distance. So that's already got a lot of challenges, and like get really invested in something and get my heart broken. That's my fear, and go through grief again. Or he dies. One of those. So those are
Yeah.
my two fears. It's basically the same loss. I don't want loss again, but I always say this, it's better to have loved and lost than to never loved at all. Like I would do it all over with Luke. And I feel the same thing with a future love, that I want to experience it again, even because, I mean, we think about it, somebody's going to die again. Even if we grow old, someone's going to die first, probably, unless Jesus comes back, please, hallelujah. But unless that, like someone's going to die. And so I've had to think about that, but I have to be okay with that. Like, this is, and I really do believe in the dating, like you've got to give it to God. Like I kind of went through a little bit of like looking for it. And then when I didn't look for it, like at least now I have this friendship that's blossoming that I didn't look for, that came to me pretty much because of Mark Zuckerberg. So like, and God putting him in my life years ago. So yeah, I guess that's my biggest fear is loss, but it's worth it. I believe, because I have experienced love before, as you have, that it's worth it. It's worth it to risk that, to have that companionship. And so I believe that there might be some people listening who are scared, but think about, like, fear is not from God. It's false evidence appearing real. It's like you're going through all these scenarios in your head and it hasn't even happened. Do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries of its own. Don't borrow trouble. We talked about this last time in anxiety. It kind of goes along with the same thing. We have to release that side of us to God. I trust you. I trust you. And it's scary, like getting in a new relationship. You don't know them like you know your spouse.
Right.
You knew, like Luke and I could be like, he's like, we're on the same wave. Like we could, like, he could think something, I'd know it. It's just like everything. You knew how they ate and how they slept and how they did this and how they, every little thing. And so you're learning a whole new person, which can be scary because you don't actually fully know someone, like, till you get married and then you really learn everything. So it's scary. Like, that's where you also have to trust God. Like, praying for peace as you enter, even in my friendship that I'm in right now. God, give me peace if this is right. If it's not, like, let me know. And just praying the whole way through. God, show me, open my eyes. I've prayed this a lot in this situation. Open my eyes to the truth. What is the truth about this person? And like, so that I can see that, and praying. And he's been able to give me peace about the situation. And I just want to make sure that listeners know that that's so important, to pray over your new relationship.
Absolutely.
Like,
and pray with your new person.
Yes.
Because you really want to know where their heart stands. And, because for me, I feel fortunate that the girl who approached me, who I've been dating, and I'm just not naming her name for her own privacy, but she approached me at church. So I already know her and know a lot of people that know her. And so that's helpful. But if you're meeting somebody in the dating world and you don't know about them, or they're, nobody can vouch for them, so to speak, like, pray with them and really see where their heart is. Do devotionals together. Pray about that person in your private time and ask God to speak to you about them. And make sure you feel peace about it. But one of the things that you said that really brought me back was one of the main reasons for the first, whatever it was, I don't know the time frame, 5-6 months, whatever it was, that I thought I was going to be alone forever. I didn't want to. I had no interest in dating. I didn't want to be alone, but I had no interest in dating because of the reasons you mentioned. I was like, Lacey and I knew everything about each other. I don't want to get to know somebody again. Like, I don't want to invest that much again to potentially lose it, was what I was thinking at that time. I was like, Lacey knew like the back of her hands that I didn't like beans. She didn't wear corduroy because she knew it like made my arm hair stand up. Like I can't stand corduroy. Like, just these different things that she knew how I liked my food. She knew like how I liked my coffee, like just everything. It was, you spend that much time and we knew how each other prayed, and we picked up each other's traits and laughs and comedy style and just everything. And it was like, gosh, like we invested everything into each other. And then you're just like starting over from scratch. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And so if you're feeling that way now, but you're also feeling like, you don't want to be alone, like where I was at, and if you relate to this at all, I guess I would say, just give it time. And probably all that means is just you're not ready yet. And
okay.
when you feel okay, when you feel ready to get to know somebody again, go for it, and don't be afraid of it. And I don't know, I guess learn from us, from the things we're sharing with you that we've been through, because they're very real. And I wish at that time that I heard somebody talking about this stuff.
Right. It's not talked about.
Because all you hear about in these widow groups, like the one you and I met in, was that a Christian one? No, it wasn't.
No, young and widowed with children.
Oh my gosh, the things you read about and hear about, and I'm like, I don't even want to be part of this world.
No.
I mean, I don't even want to be labeled, because there's like a stigma sort of that you get labeled with when you're widowed out in the world that I didn't even want to be part of. And hearing the things that these people were posting about dating and going out and doing their thing or whatever, it was just like, oh my gosh, like this isn't me. This isn't advice for me, because they're like, I shouldn't say on air some of the things that I heard people saying, but just basically encouraging people to just go out and hook up with somebody and just see what it feels like. And I'm like, no, like that's just not me, and just bad advice, I guess would be the best way to sum it up. So I would say wait until you're ready. Like this. Yeah, we never heard anything like this.
Why I've been so passionate about, like, we need to do this episode, because it's not publicly talked about, at least in a Christian podcast.
Right.
And so we wanted to share our experience. Something else I wanted to share is, other people may give you advice. I had a friend, and we've talked about it. So she's, she hears it. It's cool. We've talked about why I didn't like that. She said to me, if I think if my husband died, I don't think I'd ever want to get married again. And I said, well, you don't know because you've never experienced it. She's like, like my husband's trained and like, I wouldn't want to start over, kind of the same thing. And I was just like, you don't. And I was very firm with her, and she did apologize. I'm like, you don't know what it feels like. And so don't let other people stop you. If you feel ready and you have peace about it, go for it in whichever avenue you feel like you want to do it. And don't feel bad, and let go of what other people think. So what I'm struggling with, and don't know if they listen or not, but and I'm not quite there. So when I am in a relationship, I will reach out to my in-laws. But I'm struggling with, that's hard for me because I don't want them to think it means I loved Luke any less. So hopefully if they're listening, they know that. And when it is time, if I do enter into a relationship, which could be very possible soon, I will talk to them. But I have to let go of like, what are they going to think? What are other people going to think that are related to him or good friends with him? Those are
I think anybody can really, because I know, you and I have gotten to know each other really well, and I know a lot of your stories and stuff. And you stood by your husband's side faithfully, and you would have kept standing by his side. It wasn't your choice. It wasn't your call. You prayed, you did everything you could to keep him in your life, to keep him as your husband. And it just was beyond your control. And it's been an extremely respectable amount of time.
Yes.
And I think honestly that people would want you to be happy. That's what I've experienced. All the people that I was so afraid of, telling or knowing, people from church, my in-laws, whoever it might be, everybody has been way more loving and understanding than I would have even imagined. Like close family friends of Lacey's that I've told about it, and I was unsure how they were going to react, and they're like, when you're ready, like you do that. I'd be so happy for you if you found somebody like you deserve that. You were such a good husband. And I'm like, wow, like I was not expecting that. I was expecting like, oh wow, really? Like you're dating somebody? Yeah. Not everybody knows, but it's because I don't talk to them intimately, not because I've been hiding it,
Which I have a question for you. How come you don't want to be public, like on social media about it?
Because it's just, to me, it doesn't mean that Facebook doesn't determine whether I'm in a relationship or not.
Well, I know. I'm just curious.
Like to me, it's just never like, it's never been a thing to me to like, oh, I better put it on social media now or whatever. Like, but most of the people that I'm actually friends with, like, no, And so it's not like I'm hiding her. I mean, we sit together at church, we come together, we go together. I've had friends over and she's here or whatever. Like it's not like a secret or anything, but I've never felt the need to like change my Facebook status or whatever, it's not important to me. But it's also not something I'm intentionally not doing.
Right.
It's just like I'm just not a big social media.
Right. You're not like
person,
a big poster. So I was just curious because I feel like I'm excited and like, I want to, if I get to this place with this person, like I want to put it on social media, but there's also a reason because it's somebody that like I knew from college and a lot of people that are not in my daily life, like would know both of us too. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a cool story. And so I was just curious about that because,
I get why you're curious, but for me, it's like, it just comes down to like, I'm more of a private person.
That's true.
Like, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty open with like sharing my feelings sometimes. Except for the podcast.
Right.
I'm pretty open about sharing my feelings and stuff like that on Facebook, but that's more for me. That's like, I need an outlet. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I'll post these, it's pretty rare, but I have no problem sharing my feelings on Facebook and stuff like that. But that's more of like I've found that writing is an outlet for me.
Yes.
To kind of get how I'm feeling out. And then as I reread it later, I can like analyze it and stuff. And so yeah, I mean, I guess, but aside from that, it probably sounds contradictory, but I am a pretty private person. I don't care about people getting to know, because I feel like a lot of that is like, I learned a lot from Lacey dying, as far as social media goes, is that, I mean, people were coming out of the woodworks to post about her.
Right.
And, oh my gosh, my friend this. And I'm like, did you even know that she had cancer? I get it. Yeah. And so it's like, for me, it's like people want to have the inside scoop. People want to have the next thing to talk about. And I don't want to feed that, I don't want people, oh, did you hear Mark's dating someone? Like, I don't know. It's just not I tell the people who I want to know.
Right.
And
that's
let the chips fall where they may. Otherwise,
it's good that we are different in that way because some people can relate to you and some people can relate to me. Sure. And for me, it's too, like when I, find this relationship, I always want to tell people, like, it's just something that I want to do. So it's good to kind of like hear both perspectives.
Sure. Yeah.
On that.
And I'm sure that there's some people listening right now that are, I mean, aside from our viewers who don't know me, but I know that there are some people that listen to this that know me. I'm sure they're just now hearing for the first time that I'm dating someone, but I'm okay with that. But my heart wants to help people. And that's the whole point of why I wanted to do this podcast. And so, yeah, this topic isn't something I was, super comfortable talking about publicly, but when you talked to me about it and said that you think it would be really helpful for people, I thought about that and I was like, you know what, it would. And we have the experience to share with, and I know a lot of people have more experience than I do and could probably do a lot better of a job than we have of covering this topic, but I just wanted to put some stuff out there that, so it's funny that I'm a private person and yet here I am with sharing this stuff with people from all around the world. But, that's how it is. And that's how I feel about it, is just that, like, I want to help people. And so that's why I'm open to talking so vulnerably and open on this podcast, because I want to help people. And I know what a dark and lonely road this has been at times.
Yeah.
And I wished that I had somebody covering the topics that we cover, because it would have been very helpful. It would have been very helpful to just even hearing people relate. Hear this. I met before I met you, there was one other girl that reached out to me from that same widowed group that I was chatting with for a while, and we became close friends. And she had a totally different story than mine, though. And just for the sake, even I'm not mentioning her name, but even just for the sake of her privacy, I won't mention any of the things that happened to her. But it was just a very different death of her husband than I experienced. And so meeting you was like, oh my gosh, like it was just this connection where I was like, yes, that's the same thing Lacey. Those are the same medications Lacey was on. That was the same thing Lacey was going through. So that helped me a lot. And so that's the reason why I wanted to do this podcast with you, is to give other people that feeling that others
Yes.
understand. And that's the same reason why I want other widows to come on our show, and widowers to come on our show and share their stories, because everybody's story is different. And I just love the idea of this being a community of people that can learn from one another and kind of get through this by, of course, by God's grace, but to encourage people to go to God in this, so anyways, it's not on the topic of dating, but I don't even know how I got here, but
talking about being vulnerable, all the things.
Right.
And I think it's important. Like, that is why we are vulnerable and open. And I feel like we've come a long ways even since the beginning, because we want to help others. And we feel like if we're open, God can use us more. And people relate to authentic. If we were just like robots and like everything's great and we're, dating people and it's fine, blah, 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 like that wouldn't be real, And so our hope and our prayer is that this helps you, whoever's listening. And as you embark on your dating journey, or you don't, I want you to know there's nothing wrong with it. Like, there's no timetable in grief. You are right if you date, you are right if you don't date. It does not matter. And I feel like really strongly, like somebody needs to hear that. Like maybe they've been told.
I felt that too. That's weird.
Yeah, like really strongly. Like maybe they've been told it's too soon, or maybe they've been the other way. Like, are you going to date again? And like, it's okay. And God has you wherever you're at in this moment, at this second. He has you there for a reason. And he has your future lined up perfectly. If you're supposed to be married again or date again, he's going to bring that person to you. You'll meet at he'll direct the paths. Like, it really comes down to trust. Do we trust God? Like, do we trust him? He brought us through this horrible experience. We are not where we thought we would be. Do we trust him with our future? Do we trust him? And that's where I've had to be like, yes, God, I trust you.
And on the flip side of that too, if your choice is to not date again, God will take care of you in that.
Exactly.
And like, you're going to be fine. You don't have to do it just because other people are telling you to.
Exactly.
And like Michelle's saying, that whatever is right for you is right for you. And I found that so interesting that you said that right when you said it, Michelle, because I just felt something stirring inside of me that I was like, oh, there's somebody listening right now that just needs to hear this. And it was really interesting that you said it when you did, because I was feeling it in that exact moment where I was like, whoa, somebody is like sitting there just going, oh yeah, like this is okay. Whatever I choose is okay. I mean, it's your life,
Yeah. That's so good. So good. I felt it so strong. I had like goosebumps. Like, I got to say this, like somebody needs to know this. So I really hope that reached the right person or people or whoever. And so, is there anything else? I mean, I'm sure we could do another episode another time when we've had more experience in this world. Is there anything else you want to say on the topic of dating?
Be careful. That's on my heart to say, particularly to women. Be careful, because there are a lot of men that are very willing to take advantage of your vulnerability, and it breaks my heart. But it's very real. It's very real. Just as a man, knowing a lot of men, like, I'm not saying I know a bunch of bad dudes or anything, but I'm just saying that, like, women, I've seen so much stuff where you just have to be so careful. There's so many scammers out there.
Oh, yes.
Oh my goodness. When they see widow in your profile, like, you are a target.
Yep.
And you have to be careful with, just be mindful. And I would just say, like, pray about each person, because there's a lot of very good actors out there, and they will have you falling in love with them until you drain your bank account for them, because they'll have some swindle, some scam, some story. I know a lot of you are very intelligent, and I'm not implying that you're not smart enough to figure out a scam, but just that we're all very vulnerable in this walk. And I only say particularly women, because women tend to be more of a target. And from what I've seen in all these different widow groups, I've seen a lot of people posting about how they got completely scammed. I have seen men post that they got scammed. It just seems to happen to women more often. And I don't know the reason for that, but that just seems to be the case. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just
definitely.
I just don't want to be like anybody seems like I'm being presumptive that
No.
women are being duped more for
No.
any reason other than just that's the truth.
I would also say if you don't um know them, like you knew your person, I know my person, like if you have nobody that can vouch for them, do a background check, not even joking.
Mm.
Whitepages.com is a great resource. No, seriously, like it's like you can go there for free if you want more information. It's like $5 if you want a full, but I don't get paid by them, by the way. I just like it. I've used whitepages.com many times in many situations.
Plugging our sponsors.
Right? I wish I got paid. But anyways, like I'm not even joking. Like you want to know something about them.
Sure.
And if you notice like on Facebook that you have a mutual friend with this person, I have done this many times. You contact them and you ask them about the person. Like if you can find someone to vouch for them, that's good, rather than someone who comes out of nowhere, nothing, they could be completely lying. So,
and listen to, we don't want to be like scaring you guys, but just we care about your safety. Like if you feel any red flags, don't ignore them. I'm not saying that you're always right when you feel a red flag, but don't ignore it if you do. Like keep an eye on that, and don't just go with the fact that it finally feels good to not be alone anymore. Just don't be so vulnerable that you fall for something.
Let's be smart and not be vulnerable. And yeah, I think that's good. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I feel really, really good about the experiences that God has given us to share with others. And yeah, so would you like to close us out in prayer?
I would love to. Yes.
Awesome.
Father God, you're such a good God. You're so graceful and loving to us. And it's hard. We don't always understand your plans. But I pray right now that anybody who's feeling lonely, as Michelle and I both really understand, that you would just give them hope and encouragement. And that for anybody that wants to stay single, Lord, that you comfort them in that choice. And for anybody who is looking for a future spouse, or just trying to get over the fact of like trying to date again, that you would bring whoever it is to them quickly, and so that they don't have to feel alone anymore. And I just pray for everyone's heart in here that's listening, that you would comfort them in whatever they're feeling like they want for their future, and that you would completely remove any fears from their heart about the circumstances surrounding them looking to be happy again in the future, and that you would just give them great peace. And I thank you, Lord, for just always being there for us, and that we can just cry out to you anytime. It is such a gift that we take for granted, because we really don't understand what it means to be able to speak to the God of the universe at any given moment in time. And we are grateful, though, and we're grateful for the blood of Jesus, and it's in his name that we pray to you, Father. Amen.
Amen.
So one last thing. So Michelle and I have been doing this podcast for a while. I think this is our 25th episode.
Yeah. Episode 25,
we have been doing this because we love helping people. But if you feel led to sponsor us in any way, we have set up a Patreon account for those that are interested. It is, if you go to Patreon, you go to Widowed Too Soon, and you can send us a small donation there if you feel led to do that. We would be very grateful that we could continue this ministry as best as we can. And so anyways, that is at Patreon, and it's Widowed Too Soon. If you feel led to sponsor us, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
And there's also a link below in the show notes. I will put a direct link. So either way. So just to wrap it up, again, we really appreciate you guys being here. And again, if you would like to be a guest on our podcast, we love having guests. We've had 2 so far, and it's been amazing. And, for example, Lisa with Widowed by COVID, so many responses to people who had lost their spouses to COVID were able to relate to her, which we could never reach that audience. And so whatever your story is, there's going to be something in it that's going to relate to someone that we can't relate to. And so if you feel comfortable or you feel led to do this, please let us know. We would be happy to interview you and have you share your story. So just consider it, think about it, pray about it. We'd love to have you. So you can let us know by emailing us at widowedtoosoonm@gmail.com, or we have Instagram where you can go to widowedtoosoon_, send us a message. We also have a Facebook group, Widowed Too Soon, I believe. We have all the links below, and we would love to hear from you. If you really liked this episode, we'd love it if you'd give it a little bing, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. And also YouTube, go see it. You can see our beautiful faces if you go to YouTube and see what we actually look like and watch some of those episodes. They're not all there, but some of them. So I think that's all my stuff to share.
That's most of the stuff. Yeah, we've gained some great friends too.
Yes, for sure.
From this, which is awesome. And so also, like, if you don't feel comfortable being on air, but you want to share your story, like, you can send it to us if you feel led to just type out your story, if that's more comfortable for you and you're comfortable with us sharing it on air and talking about it. I think we would be willing to do that too. You know, I mean, we'd rather have you as a guest, but you know, we would. Nothing, we've had some. I've heard some amazing testimonies. One of them I think of, and I think she'd be comfortable with me using her name. We've talked about it briefly, but there's a girl, Linnea, that her testimony was just so beautiful. Right. But she didn't feel comfortable sharing it on air, which I totally understood, and just said, if you ever do, let us know. But if you just want to share your story with somebody, if you don't feel comfortable with us reading on air, that's fine too. But if you just want to share your story with somebody, it might be therapeutic for you. Please do so. Like, we'd love to read it, and you know, just hear about what you've been going through and how God's been helping you.
Yes.
So anyways, I feel like we do a whole episode about that.
I know. All right. Well, I think that's it. So thank you guys for listening, and I hope you have a fabulous week, and we'll be back next week. Have a great day.
Word
up.